In Umwania village, which sat right by the great river and the high hills of the east, lived a young woman named Amara. In the language of her people, Amara meant grace. But for the people of Umwania, her beauty was not seen as a gift. Instead, it was something they talked about with fear and anger, as if her face alone could cause trouble for everyone. Amara was indeed very beautiful. Her skin was smooth and dark like well-polished wood, and her eyes were as clear as water drawn from a deep well at night. When she walked through the village square, people stopped what they were doing just to look at her. But this led to big problems. The men of the village began to act like children. Farmers stayed away from their fields because they wanted to watch her go to the stream. Young men who used to be serious warriors started fighting each other over who would help her carry her firewood. Even Mazi Ibe, a man who had seen many seasons and had several wives, was caught staring at her in a way that made his household very unhappy. The women of the village were led by Ifeoma, the first wife of the village head. Ifeoma was a powerful woman, but her heart was full of bitterness. She called a secret meeting late one night when the moon was missing. "This girl is not human," Ifeoma told the gathered women. "She has used charms to turn our husbands into fools. If we don't act, our homes will be destroyed. She is taking the peace of this village away." They were tired of their husbands ignoring them and their sons losing their senses. They didn't see Amara as a kind girl who helped her mother. They saw her as a threat that had to be removed. They decided not to use a knife or poison. They knew the village priest and the herbalist would find out. Instead, they decided to let the earth do the work. During the New Yam Festival, when the village was loud with drumming and the men were heavy with palm wine, Ifeoma and 4 other women followed Amara to the edge of the forest. "Amara," Ifeoma called out with a fake smile. "The elders say there is a special leaf near the forest that brings good luck to a family. Come and help us find it." Amara, who did not have a wicked mind, followed them. When they were deep enough into the bush, when no one could hear, Ifeoma hit Amara on the back of the head with a heavy piece of wood. The girl fell down instantly, her long hair spreading across the red dirt. The women quickly began to dig a hole under a large old Iroko tree, a place where people were usually afraid to go. They put Amara in the shallow grave, threw thorns on top of her, and covered her with soil. They flattened the ground and covered it with dead leaves so that no one would know that the earth had been moved. When they finished, they hurried back to the festival. When Amara's parents couldn't find her, the village searched for days. Eventually, they assumed a wild animal had killed her or she had fallen into the river. Over time, people stopped talking about her. 6 months later, the dry season had arrived. The king of the region, Igwe Okeke, went out to hunt in the bushes near Umwania. The Igwe was a man who stood for the truth, but he was very lonely. His wife had died a year before, and he had remained a widower. His 2 best hunters, Chidi and Obina, were leading the way. As they got close to that same Iroko tree, the hunting dogs stopped moving. The dogs didn't bark. They just sat on the ground and started whining. "Is there a leopard nearby?" Chidi asked, holding his spear tight. "Look at the ground," Obina said, pointing at the base of the tree. "The soil is moving." The king walked closer. He saw something very strange. From the spot where the women had buried Amara, a very beautiful flower had grown. It was a color the king had never seen before, dark gold with a deep blue center. And as they stood there, they heard a sound. It wasn't a bird or the wind. It was a soft humming sound coming from the ground. "This is very strange," Obinna said, stepping back. "We should go." "No," the king said. "The sound is peaceful. Dig up this spot. Be careful." The hunters began to dig. As they moved the dirt, a sweet smell like fresh flowers filled the air. Suddenly, Chidi's hand touched something soft. He cleared the rest of the dirt and shouted. There lay Amara. She did not look like someone who had been dead for 6 months. She looked like she was only sleeping. Her skin had a strange glow and her hair was wrapped around her like a blanket. Even more strange was that a group of bright golden butterflies was hovering right above her chest, moving their wings as if they were cooling her down. The king touched her face, and immediately Amara opened her eyes. She sat up and coughed out a small glowing seed. The earth had kept her alive. The king took Amara to his palace. He gave her the best food and clothing. For a few days, she was quiet, but eventually she told the king everything. How Ifeoma and the women had tricked her, hit her, and buried her in the thorns. Igwe Okeke was very angry. They tried to kill you because they were jealous of your face, he said. They tried to hide their crime in the dirt, but the earth refused to keep their secret. The king came up with a plan to expose them. He sent a messenger to Umuanya village. The king has found a new wife, the messenger shouted. She is the most beautiful woman in the world. He wants the women of Umuanya to come to the palace and help prepare her for the wedding. Ifeoma must lead the group. Ifeoma was very proud. She thought the king was honoring her. She and the other women dressed in their best clothes and traveled to the palace, laughing and bragging about how important they were.
When they arrived at the palace hall, they saw a woman sitting on a throne. Her face was hidden behind a veil of pearls. "Welcome," the king said. "I have heard that you women are experts in beauty. My new queen was found in the forest. Ifeoma, come closer. Tell me, do you think a woman can be too beautiful for her own good?" Ifeoma stepped forward confidently. "Your Majesty, beauty can be a bad thing. In our village, we had a girl who was so beautiful she was a witch. We are glad she is gone. A queen should be beautiful, but also safe." The king leaned forward. "Is that so? Then look at my queen's face." Amara stood up and pulled back the veil. The hall became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Ifeoma's eyes almost popped out of her head. She turned pale and started shaking. 2 of the other women fell to the floor in shock. "Amara?" Ifeoma stuttered. "But we put you in the ground. We covered you with thorns." The king stood up, his voice loud and firm. "You buried an innocent girl because you were jealous. You thought you could kill her and go back to your lives. But the earth brought her back to sit on a throne. You did not kill a witch. You tried to kill your queen." Amara walked down to where Ifeoma was kneeling and crying. "You thought the ground would hide what you did," Amara said quietly. "I don't want your life, Ifeoma. Hate has already destroyed your soul." The king did not kill the women. Instead, he took away everything they owned. He turned them into servants at the shrine of the earth goddess. Their job was to sweep the floors and clean the dirt every single day for the rest of their lives. They had to stay close to the same earth they tried to use for murder. On the wedding day, the men of Umuanya sent a big box of gold to the king as a gift to beg for his forgiveness. But when Amara touched the gold, it turned into plain grey stones. "You cannot buy peace with money," Amara told the messengers. She gave the hunters who found her 2 seeds from that strange flower. She told them to plant them in the middle of the village. If the people of Umuanya live in peace, these flowers will bloom. But if jealousy starts again, the flowers will die and your crops will fail. Amara lived as a great queen for many years. People stopped talking about how she looked and started talking about how she helped the poor and gave good advice. In Umuanya, the flowers stayed bright and healthy. Every year, people say they see golden butterflies flying from that old Iroko tree toward the king's palace, reminding everyone that the truth can never be buried forever.